Welcome back to another episode of the What's the Play podcast. It's your boy Christian, and we got a new face to the fore. He's not new, he's been here, but this is Nate. He's been on for a couple episodes, but he's back. We got Nate back with us. Sports fan Brandon and Caleb not able to make it today, but that's why we got such a large group of people, so we can still have a good podcast with just the four of us. This is being recorded right as soon as Celtics and Heat game ended. The Celtics are down 0-1. The Lakers lost yesterday, so they are down 0-1. So before we get into the basketball talk, I need you all to do me a favor if you're watching this. I need you all to like, I need you to comment, I need you to subscribe, and I need you to share. I need you to share the video with your mother, your father, your grandfather, your grandma, your aunt, your uncle, your best friend, your girlfriend, your cousin, second cousin, third cousin, and keep telling them to do the same thing. We trying to grow. We're trying to do some big things for you guys, but we need you guys to help us as well. So if you guys could do that for us, that would be great. So now let's get into the basketball talk. Want to breeze through the lottery real quick. The NBA lottery happened yesterday. The Spurs came away with the rights to select Victor Wembanyama, and then the order goes as follows.
Well,
What do you mean?
They got the rights
What?
to select the first pick.
Yeah, so they got the rights to select Victor.
Okay, but can we just get off for a second? Can we just please?
I mean, the Spurs have first pick. Hornets got 2. Blazers got 3.
Rockets got 4.
Anybody have any
Pistons got
commentary?
5.
Yeah, I feel like once we get closer to draft time, we'll probably be able to give more in-depth analysis. Last year we did a full draft of the top draft picks coming in. So close to the draft time, we'll give a deeper analysis. But of course, everybody knows Victor Wembanyama, the odds-on favorite to go number 1. Generational talent, as we are told. The Spurs have the opportunity to take him. There is also multiple other great prospects in this draft. We got Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, Amin and Asar Thompson, Anthony Black. You even got Nick Smith, who didn't play as many games at Arkansas, but he's still a bucket. Jarris Walker. So it's a bunch of guys in this class that can make an impact on their team day one, and especially down the line. So this should be a good draft. Anybody have anything they want to add on in terms of what happened yesterday in the draft lottery?
Just from the lottery perspective, obviously, I think everybody's big winner was obviously the Spurs because they were able to get one of the first 2 picks. Because I felt like either way, whether they got one of those picks, they would be able to fill one of their 2 big areas of need, which is an impact big and a dynamic playmaker. So being able to get Victor, that's huge, obviously, for San Antonio. My biggest losers got to be the Rockets and the Pistons because they both, had top 3 odds, but they both fell to 4 and 5. So even though there's still, guys there that can, there's still guys there that I believe that can impact their teams. Just the fact that they were, they had the best lottery odds and ended up falling behind even a team like Portland, who I can't remember what their odds were, but if they were 7th, then it would coincide with a study that JB did, a little bit earlier. Go check that out. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's basically my analysis from the draft lottery.
Hey, let's point out where they can find that study that you're talking about for GB. We got to put our people on. Where
JB,
is that?
let them know, man. Let them know.
Oh yeah, y'all can follow me on LinkedIn. On my LinkedIn at Jalen Brown, JLEN. My name tag right there. So recent lottery analysis that I just drew up about a month or so ago. Basically, get you highlights of every lottery over the past now I want to say 38 years or so since 1985 since the lottery started. Give you a breakdown of what's been the most valuable picks. 1, 2, but after that, it's pretty much a crapshoot, but gives you more insight into it. So check it out if you get a free chance. I guess you can add the link below the video.
We'll put the link in the description for the people that are.
It's right here.
For sure.
It's right there. So click that.
Yeah, we gotta make sure we put our own projects on because we do have a big project coming for you guys as well. But that's more of like a team thing. So like for the individual stuff that we have going, we always want to promote that, especially like with what JB just mentioned, and of course Brian's articles, and of course the careers that we have blooming here.
Oh yeah.
Blooming. Man, all right. I do want to say this
I
about the
caught it.
draft.
I caught it. That was bad.
I didn't even do that
Okay.
on purpose. I'll be honest,
No,
but
I didn't catch
I'm
it till
good.
you started
I'm
laughing. That's
good.
why I was like, oh, okay, I got
I'm
it.
good.
I do want to say,
Wait, I don't
we'll
get it.
explain after the
We'll
pod.
explain. We'll
We'll
explain
explain after the pod.
later on,
Okay,
JB.
okay.
We got
Just
you.
think about Nate. Just think about Nate and how that helped me. But I know me and JB were kind of rooting for the top two to be Charlotte and San Antonio. I really did like the fit with Victor in Charlotte and Scoot in San Antonio. But if I'm the Spurs, I feel like big and a point guard is of equal need. You can honestly argue that they needed a big more than they needed a point guard because the younger Jones, Trey Jones, right? I mean, he was stable this year. He's not a dynamic point guard like Scoot would be, but in comparison, I'd rather have Trey Jones as a point guard than Zach Collins as my starting center. So,
Yeah, I forgot
I
to
mean,
say.
the Spurs.
I was
Go
gonna say I
ahead.
just forgot to say when the reason why the impact big became a need was because they moved Jakob Pertl. If he was still there, I wouldn't be. It wouldn't seem as much of a need for me. But obviously, you would still take Victor Wembanyama even if you had Jakob Pertl. My bad, CT.
Yeah, and so the fit with the Spurs is there. But at two, there may be some conversation around if the Hornets decide to take Brandon Miller, Scoot Henderson, or if they decide to even trade out of the pick. Because to this point, it seemed like Scoot was a for sure thing at number two almost. But with the Hornets having LaMelo Ball, it may be interesting to see how they feel about pairing another dynamic guard with him. I personally don't feel that the fit would be that bad, but there are people who have other opinions. So, I mean, the Hornets may have this whole plan set that we just don't know. We probably may not know until the day of the draft unless there's a trade made. But I know that I feel that the fit will be okay if you have these two dynamic point guards playing off of each other. But I know Jalen feels differently. You want to elaborate?
I think it's possible. Like I said, we've seen for the past 3 or so years LaMelo and Terry Rozier play together, so it's possible for sure. Um, I just don't know if you're going to take an investment with a second overall pick. Kind of want to make sure it hits. Um, I agree. Drafting for talent or drafting for fit works a lot more when you're at the higher end of the lottery. Something is bad. It won't be a bad pick if they pick Scoop. That's preferred if it was a different situation. Like how you already
Yeah.
mentioned with Victor and Charlotte and Scoot in San Antonio. It would kind of both. They both have that free range to kind of have the ball in their hands a lot more. But,
Yeah. Selfishly for Scoot, I would honestly prefer him to be in a different situation.
yeah,
Simply because I feel like him playing with LaMelo may limit the numbers upside he may put up in his first few years. But if I'm Charlotte, if I'm this bad, you cannot draft for fit, in my opinion.
yeah.
Like at this point, you literally have to draft for talent and if you don't, say Brandon Miller is the pick, and then like what's the upside with the team going forward? Like you need that guy, and I feel like Scoop is really like head and shoulders of the rest of the prospects right after Victor.
Yeah.
And that may just be my. Yeah, I don't really have him and Brandon Miller graded closely at all, and there's still more work to be done. But
Do you,
I don't think the prospect comparison between them two is close. I feel like you can make an argument you can make the argument for them to take Brandon Miller if they were like close, if you have a close grade on them. But I just don't have that close of a grade on them for them to take Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson.
do you have both of the Thompson twins over Brandon Miller?
I do not. No. I mean, I think I have Brandon three,
Okay.
but the gap between two and three, I would say this may sound crazy. The gap between one and two, being Victor and Scoot, in my opinion, is smaller than the gap between two and three. And I don't know if that's crazy or
Mm,
not. We got some
mm.
we got some
I
ball
can see.
knowers
I can
here.
see what you're
So,
saying there.
but I'm a big Scoot guy. I've been a big Scoot guy since he got to G League Ignite. I wasn't. I was almost on the Scoot better than Vic train, but I watched a couple of Vic games and I took that back pretty quickly. But I am still a big Scoot guy, so I would have him closer graded to Vic than I would have Brandon Miller graded to Scoot.
I think I agree with you there because I think it's always been a 1A 1B with him and with Scoot and Vic. Obviously, most people would say obviously you're not going to take 1B in this situation just because Victor is that uniquely talented from what people say. Before I know
Yeah.
Nate hasn't had a chance to go yet, but I just wanted to ask There's been reports, obviously, that Portland is looking to trade their third pick for, I guess, a player that would help increase their chances of, competing, at least trying to become a contender. Because I can't even say competing for a championship with a straight face. But if Scoot is there at 3, do you think it might tempt the Portland front office?
Here's the thing though with Portland, like it's one or the other in terms of what their future is. If you draft 3, you trade Lillard. If you keep Lillard, you trade number 3. I don't think you can have both, right? Where I feel like the third pick, like if they select the third pick, that's just a sign automatically. Okay, we're here to rebuild. This is like the new, I want to say cornerstone, but this is the reboot, right? Um, I think this is the perfect time for Portland to move on with Dame if they want to keep that pick. I don't think it's one or the other. You're not going to get someone from this draft, like especially considering how good, the potential that this top 5 has. That's instantly going to push you into playoff contention. Like, and then also in the same breath, I don't know how much Portland can get better to the point where they become a playoff team despite having a third pick, considering what their roster looks like right now. I think they can become a competitive play-in team. But given where they are, given the age of the roster, given the inexperience of the roster, I feel like the best bet for them right now is they have the trade capital now to not only either move Dame and get a good return, or I guess do this third thing. I'm of the belief that they trade Dame, and I think you just have good and you can get back good capital for the future. Yeah, but that's what I say.
I'm hoping they do the same thing. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I was just gonna ask, do you try to move guys like Nurkic and Grant too, and just completely blow it up, or is it just move Dame and see what you can get? That's for anybody.
I'm hoping they do, but the way Dame is talking, the way Portland has moved in the past, it leads me to believe that they won't be so enthusiastic about doing a complete rebuild. Like, we've seen that some of these teams are just so content with being mediocre. And Dame can act like he wants to win all he wants, but if he just keeps coming back to Portland, and that well isn't running dry because he's going to keep getting that money. But my thing with if Portland ends up staying at 3, this is probably the best chance they're going to get to draft like that guy, their number one guy. Because if you look at the next coming draft classes, especially the next one coming up, that draft class is, especially in comparison to this one. Like, I don't know if it's really that bad as people are making it seem, but when you compare it to this draft class, it just looks awful.
The ceiling isn't
like they're saying, it's like they're saying you're drafting role players with the third, second pick almost. And this in Portland, as bad as they were this year, they're not. It's not as likely that they're going to continue being this bad, So this is honestly probably their best situation to get a high draft pick and hit on somebody for the future. If they were smart, that's what they would do and commit to a rebuild. Because if you get a guy like Scoot, Brandon Miller, you could and you already have Shaden Sharp. You got Anthony Simons. Depending on who you draft, it's like the pieces are there for you to be a decent team within the next few years and actually make a run with the pieces you have. But if you just want to commit to trying to get it done, making Dame a player for life, then you're just gonna be stuck where you are. I mean, playing is cool.
Yeah.
It'll sell tickets, but like, what's the upside?
Yeah, because Anthony, Payton, that third pick, and then what you can get back with Dame is good. Like, also, Anthony is on a team-friendly deal for the next 3 years. Like, I think now's the time where it's okay. And also, Shaden turned it around at the end of the season. He really started to come to his own when he was starting Game.
Yeah.
They have the answer. Like, I don't. It's in like as a lead guard last year when Anthony was the lead guard on that in those games. He averaged 28 and 6 on what 46% shooting and. Yeah, and 40 and also 40% from like they have the answer to what to do this offseason. It's right there. I don't
Yeah.
I don't think it's overthinking. I know the Portland GM is adamant about tickets and whatnot, and Dame is going to sell tickets, but um, like at what point does that become just a excuse for mediocrity? I think it's time
I mean,
to part with it. And
that's what
Portland's
we
it.
see a lot.
Yeah.
That's what we see a lot with
I was
small
gonna say
market teams.
also. I was also gonna say that I think if there's ever a time of game day, like they're in the best position now to do so, and any other previous year, considering them getting the third pick.
Yeah, I think it's one of the few times we're all in agreement. It's time. It's time. I know Dame is locked in with Modelo and Tiso and Hulu, but come on, brother. You got the bag. You got the bag. I respect it. Move on. He gave 10 years. It was good. I feel like you said, Anthony Simons is already there. You got the point guard you can see for the next few years. Shaden Sharp showing enough. But Nurkic also, he should be gone. Jeremy Grant, good vet, could be gone also. Still got Nasir a little. He got a little bit of talent left in him also. I think about who else. Personally, the third pick, I think if Scoot is there, I'll let y'all also talk about this too, but if Scoot is there, I don't know if you take him.
Because of Simons and Sharp?
So Simons is already there. I think you trade down 1 or 2 picks, get one of the Thompson twins, kind of build your draft capital a little bit within this draft. And then also trade Dame, a little more, like I said, more capital up, make some moves that way. I just don't think Scoot, Anthony Simons already there. It's too much. There's no need for confusion with a rebuild this early, But Brandon Miller's there. I say the same thing. I don't believe Brandon Miller's gonna. I don't think he got it. I just don't think he got it.
I feel like if Brandon Miller is there, they probably sprint the card in, simply because the positions are set. It's Anthony at the 1, Shaden at the 2, Brandon Miller at the 3, and you can just Scoot. It would be a little bit more confusion, like you said, because who's point guard, who's playing off the ball. And we've seen, like Nate just mentioned, Anthony put up crazy numbers this year when he was a lead guard. When Dame got hurt, so it's you kind of want to see him in that role still. But we could see something like we saw with Trae Young and Luka a few years ago, where Atlanta makes the pick for Luka, and they end up trading it for whatever prospect they end up wanting, and they get additional draft capital with that. But another thing with Portland, we can move on.
It's a great example.
Yeah. Another thing we can say about Portland is, at this point, I mean, Dame is always going to have decent trade value, but this is probably the best you're going to get, because you're starting to see the injuries may start to pile up. He's a smaller guard. It's not like he's a 6'4" guard. I mean, he's an elite shooter, but I mean, he is a smaller guard. So if the injuries continue to pile up, that trade value is going to drop. So, I mean, Portland may just have to tell Dame, yeah, we had a good run, They can't wait for him to tell them, honestly,
He doesn't
it's not, that's all it has to be, for the best of their organization. In order to maximize the trade value, this is the year, because, I mean, you have desperate teams out there. Philly's desperate, Miami, depending on how the series go, they may be desperate. New York, who knows? They may be desperate. I don't know how the fit is there. Brooklyn, they may be desperate. Who knows with that ownership group. But there's a lot of desperate teams out there who may be looking to add that superstar who can help them compete. So, no. Anybody else have anything they want to add before we can talk about the conference finals?
Well, another topic before that, but we only thing I was gonna say was I agree. Huh?
Go ahead. No, I was saying there was something else. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say I think JB made a great point. I also think you made a great example with the Luka trade, like Jalen said. But I think I mean, we know Houston's looking to trade from 4. So if you're Portland and Scoot's on the board, I think you have a better chance of negotiating a trade with them potentially.
You got your GM cap on.
Who do you get back though in that trade? Like, fourth
You
pick
can
and
pick.
what?
I think it's more about just getting 4 in draft capital, like you said earlier. I don't think
Okay.
you're getting a specific player back in that trade
Mm.
because you're only trading.
I'm
you're
asking
only
for
trading
Tari
one pick.
Eason.
If you can get Deshaun Tate, you get a 4.
I'm asking
Right.
for Tari. I'm asking for Tari Eason.
You're not getting Tari Eason.
Tari Eason and 4.
You're not
I know
getting
that, but is Houston that smart though?
I think
They don't like Houston
Houston would make them bluff if they asked for Tari Eason.
You know, if
That's
they
just
say
me, though.
we'll
I don't
give
know.
you, because think about what Houston wants. If you tell Houston, is Jeremy Grant a free agent?
No.
Think,
No.
if you tell Houston we'll give you 3 and Jeremy Grant, and you give us 4 Tari Eason and somebody else to make the contracts match, you may be able to
They
trick
might
them.
do that.
Houston,
might
That's
do
gotta
that.
be
they-
stupid though.
Houston thinks they are competing though, because they think they're gonna go into free agency and pick up somebody who they have.
Oh,
And they
no,
don't
never
have
mind.
their
Jeremy Grant's a free agent. He's a
He
free
is,
agent.
I thought so.
Man,
Okay,
Either way,
so, yeah.
if you can offer somebody and maybe trick them into giving
tricky.
a valid prospect in addition to the 4th pick, you know, and then you can just sit at 4 and take a Thompson twin,
Cam Whitmore,
maybe Jarris Walker, Cam Whitmore. I don't know if he goes that early, but you know,
Some people have him going 5 to Detroit, so that's the only reason why I brought him up.
really, well, the Detroit fit is crazy because they already have 2 guards, so they may just end up reaching on
I mean, Cam's more of
But
a
they're considering
wing
him a
forward
3.
type of player.
Like people would
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying if the Thompson twins are there at 5, they probably won't take one of them
Yeah.
because they already have those
I don't
2
know. I don't
guards.
I think one of them is slipping past 5. I think Amen's going to go. Amen. Or Amen Thompson's going to go top 3.
Yeah, whichever one. Whichever one of the Thompson twins is projected to be a lead guard, he's like been like pick 3, pick 4,
Amen.
Yeah.
and then the other one
Asar's
is like
range
pick
is-
7.
Yeah.
From what I've seen,
It
so
really,
far in the market.
Asar depends on the team. At 5, I don't see him going to Detroit, and so you can go from there with him.
I can see the Pacers. I think the Pacers would be a good fit for him.
Yeah, the Pacers are the
Fit
one where he's
several.
getting mocked to.
The Pacers
I like him on Indiana.
They get one of those every draft. It's been seen.
No, but
Well,
he
then-
fit perfect. He's like a connector type of player. Like him is the lead guard, right? He's projected to be a point guard, or just somebody that's like ball dominant. But I stare at the bare minimum is like he's a connector. He can play. He's like a good off ball player. I feel like that will be his projection early on in the league.
Yeah, definitely.
He's like a slightly better shooter, but I mean 30% is not really.
Yeah, neither of them can shoot. That's the only issue.
Yeah.
A min is like, a min is really, jump shot is really bad. Asar stringing it together a little bit, but he's
Yeah.
there too.
We've seen it before.
I guess if you're Indiana. Say it again.
I said we've seen this before. We've seen this with Paul George. We've seen it with Jalen Brown. Figure it out.
We've also seen it with Stanley Johnson. We've also
And
seen
Josh
it
Jackson.
with Josh. Yeah.
Josh Jackson.
So I mean, there's good and bad examples of these wings who can't shoot but can defend. You know.
I want y'all stay on the lookout, y'all, because I have a project about that coming up. The exact same topic. Dealing with that.
I mean,
3 and
Paul
D
George.
project, huh?
Paul George could shoot in. Paul George could shoot in college, though. I don't know
No,
that.
look at the
He
numbers.
shot 40% from 3. He shot 40% from 3 at San Diego. I'm sorry, at Fresno.
JB probably looking at the rookie year numbers though, because he could not shoot once he got into the league.
Oh, yeah,
first year.
that's a different story.
He got 29.7 rookie year. Let me see in college. Hold on. I keep talking though. I'm
College. In college, he
But
was,
Brian, you can move us on. Next topic.
Okay.
I think that was a good talk on the draft. I think in our hearts we may just be a draft podcast, you know. But
Maybe.
we do got to talk about the
no,
the current topics that are going on.
Yeah. I'm about to say, but we got a few drafts to come up. We got the conference, we got the playoff draft in a few episodes from now probably, and then of course NBA draft doing another draft next year. Hopefully again I'll have the best team, but we'll talk about that later. But from one basketball point guard of the future to a current player, potential face of the NBA right now, John Morant.
Bill?
Got into I don't want to say got into some trouble. How do we want to put it?
Pretty good.
Had some events happen over the weekend.
No, nothing happened to him.
But you introduced it, JB.
What he did was boy, that thing got waved it around. That's what happened, right? So he didn't accidentally.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't say he accidentally. I was just trying to figure out how to address it. Without
everyone has seen the video, so it's not like we have to break it down for people.
That's a good point.
Ja was doing it again.
Demetrius is back at it, man.
Yeah, Demetrius did it again. Only thing I don't like is the whole. Well, this isn't the only thing I don't like, but I didn't like how Adam Silver came on TV and acted like that. It wasn't clearly. It was like he came on TV and said, "We're gonna do a full investigation.
Oh,
but we're gonna zoom first." Like clearly, you have eyes. You can see what it is. Nobody photoshopped it. But thing with Ja is, he gave this whole spiel like it was like a few weeks ago about how he was admiring the change he was making in himself. He wasn't on all the blogs every morning. And it's like at this point, I don't know if Memphis next couple years. I think Brian had said something about this before, but if for the next couple years, Memphis won't really be able to trust him, like just to be a person outside of their organization. Because luckily enough, he hasn't brought it to the locker room to our knowledge, But like all these shenanigans that he has, brandishing a weapon. The first time he was in Denver, so there was like, did he have it on the plane? And he avoided that. We don't know if he actually did or not, but he avoided that. And now he's just in the car. His friend is on Instagram Live, and it's like, dude. And it's like people can make the argument that for everybody else, if guns are legal, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, the NBA, like anything that's detrimental to their brand, they can bring down the punishment of the law on whoever is damaging their brand. And at this point, Ja is bringing a bad image to their brand from their perspective. And it's like, at some point, he just has to grow up. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. You can suspend him. I mean, clearly that first suspension didn't do anything. He went to therapy, claimed he had alcohol issues. So, I mean, we don't know what the issues are now. Hopefully he gets it figured out. I'm still rooting for him. He's a great talent. I hope he does get it figured out, but we'll probably be without Ja Morant highlights for like the first 15, 20, 25 games next season.
Maybe more than that.
Yeah. I was going to say for me, as Christian alluded to, I remember on a former episode when we talked about Ja, I think I said something to the degree of like, I think it was right after the Jalen Rose interview. I was like, obviously we all believe what he was saying. Nobody was like, it wasn't trying to be skeptical or anything, but I was like, I don't think his words won't not ring well. What am I trying to say? I didn't think that everybody would just kind of see it as him just kind of like doing kind of a press tour or whatever, just saying things to sound like he was making change. And I felt like there were people that weren't going to believe him immediately. So I said something to the effect of he probably would have to finish out the rest of that season and then all of next season without getting in trouble or doing anything that could warrant anything. I didn't think that it would be like a repeat offense or anything, but just he basically had to stay clean of anything and stay clear of all potential situations for people to believe his words were true. Obviously, I think we're all disappointed that this happened again. I understand everybody having the he didn't break a law thing, but
I got something to say about it. Actually, that's a great segue because you brought up the last one. I really thought about, and this is more or less about, actually no, it's about Ja, but more so how this country perceives guns. Like, I don't know. I think I look at the media and I raise an eyebrow. And first off, let me just start off by saying what Ja did was like irresponsible, and the punishment he's getting is quote unquote deserve, because at the end of the day, he still works for an employer, and how he conducts himself in a public matter, he's a public figure, will reflect badly on his employer. So they will punish him, and that is understandable. What I don't get though is, and again, I mean, this argument can become point and mute if Ja is actually dealing with something beyond just him flashing a gun and something, deeper that we the public are not aware of. But the media's uh, the media's coverage of this has been very, very tiring and very, very hypocritical, for the simple fact that it's very normalized in this country where you can have representatives of our U.S. government go on social media, and those who are very, loud and about the Second Amendment, like post a photo of them with like an AR-15. You know what I mean? Like there's that line there's that dichotomy that for some reason goes out the window because it's a black man posing with a handgun versus like a representative from some county, and I mean, forgive me for doing this, but from some county in a southern state, posing with his family, like having his child like hold a gun, talking about like my son is going to be, or my daughter is going to be, an avid protector of the Second Amendment, and so on and so forth. So I find that part really, really annoying, and that's more a reflection of like how guns are sadly normalized in this country to the point where there's actually on count more guns in the U.S. than number of inhabitants in the United States. So I mean, there you go. Like, if anything, I feel like Morant, and I know people are starting to say like, it's not the crowd around Ja that's probably making Ja itself, but I feel like Morant is more so a casualty of like this country's infatuation with guns. But again, because of his celebrity, and sadly his defiance, but most importantly, like sadly his skin color, he's not like the visual representation of gun ownership that this country will seek out. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like gun ownership in this country, at least the media will go into a frenzy if it's a white person. Oh, they will. I mean, it depends where you see it, but you don't get this outcry if, to this degree, if somebody else that doesn't look like John Morant flashes his gun. He's not even like, again, I'm not excusing his behavior, but he's not flashing like an assault rifle. It's a handgun. But, I'm not surprised. It's the country we live in, but yeah.
No,
Again, gonna also reiterate, he should be punished, but I feel like some people are just jumping the gun with their reactions.
No, I agree with your point, Nate. I think, again, as you've highlighted, as everybody's highlighted about the NBA being a private company, I think Bomani Jones put it perfectly when he said some of the things that can get you elected is also things that can get you fired. So only problem here is that obviously you're going by the expectations are different, and I agree with you when you talk about that double standard. And also, as he pointed out, if it's people that are that would support those officials who are doing that and Second Amendment rights, but are quick to come down on Ja for that, then obviously the hypocrisy is heavy, and that needs to be talked about as well.
No, I mean I agree with everything they said. Honestly, they summed it up very well. I believe that with Ja's situation, the fact that he had the gun in the club, possibly on the airplane, just in the car, it's a little bit different. Also, you got to add in the rap element and how that looks just over the course of the last 40 years.
Yeah.
It's going to be perceived very differently than just anybody having a gun. I think he needs help. No. I think he's just 23. I think that's pretty much all of this. And just, incoming to new money and fame and that. I mean, we said it before. It's the same thing because he hasn't changed. I didn't think he changed when he went to Florida, wherever he went to get rehabilitated.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we see him drinking Casamigos. It's not like, oh, he has an alcohol problem. Like, no, he's 23. He can drink that. Like, we got 3 lick men in our group chat right now. So we understand how that is sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But he's got to suffer the consequences.
Where did you just get that number from?
I just pulled it out of nowhere. I
We probably do consider how many people we got.
probably 3. It's probably about 3. You know what I'm saying? But
Around there. But we are similar. Y'all are similar in age to Ja Morant.
no, you.
Yeah.
Y'all are similar in age to Ja Morant. So I mean, y'all can understand what he's going through.
No, I
You
get,
right.
But
I get JB's point as well.
Yeah, you the same age. What you mean?
Not for long. But I just got here, man. But I do feel like that. I think everybody just expects him to be smarter at this point.
Yeah.
It's like the first time. Okay, all right.
Just like me.
All right, yeah, all right, John, you got us. All right, you got us. You missed your 15. Like, let's be smarter now. But he did it again, and the issue is, I can almost understand if he like didn't see that his friend was on Instagram Live, whatever.
Exactly.
But he the clip is like 30 seconds long. He didn't pull the gun out until about 12 seconds into it. Right. He was
look at the
camera was on him. Camera was off of him. His fucking trying to put the camera down. Like, I mean, we just expected him to be smarter at this point. Like, I'm sure Memphis is like going through it right now because they don't know how they're supposed to move because this is the face of their franchise and he's just not moving like somebody who you would want to commit to long term, you know? And they already did. So it's like, where we go from here? Because I mean, clearly they're not going to cut him. I doubt they put him up for trade talks, but who knows? It's the NBA. You never know. But it's like we're about to be missing out on our best player for at least 15, 20, 25. You guys said maybe more. And it almost tanks the season next year. Because, I mean, we may not view Memphis as contenders, but they were the second seed in the West.
Exactly.
So next year is well within their window to compete in this conference.
Do they bring back the soul of the team?
Yeah. No, I mean his career's over there. I don't think he's gonna be there. It ain't happening. There's 3 teams in my mind that I think they'll go to. I think it's gonna, and they're all in the West. They're all in the same division actually. I think it's either gonna be Golden State, the Lakers, or the Suns. I don't think the best for him is on
sign up
Phoenix.
to see Golden State. I will sign up for Golden State because I got to see how that's gonna work out.
It's unlikely, but I just
Draymond on the
I
pod
don't
the
know.
first day, just like
it depends. Honestly, I think him going to the Warriors is indicative of like if he'll take a pay cut, right? Because that new CBA is going to kill the Warriors because they've dipped into the luxury tax so much that it's going to hinder their ability to improve their roster. But if somehow, some way he takes a vet minimum, I can see the Warriors being aggressive trying to land it.
okay. So I'm gonna move back to Ja real quick. I don't want to take up too much more time because we do still have a little bit more to talk about. But just from what I remember, so what was I gonna say? So we talked about obviously like CT just said they're signing for the long term. I think I don't want to belabor the point. That was what I was gonna say. I don't want to belabor the point about obviously like the friends and his dad and things of that nature, like the media's been talking about all the time, because we obviously don't know the dynamics. People have ideas of the dynamics, obviously, but we don't know if Ja's friends have tried to talk to him, or if he's influencing them, if they're influencing him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't want to touch too much on that. I know a lot of people talked about obviously the financial factors. We've even touched on it a little bit on the pod in terms of him losing $40 million because he missed the All NBA team, and we think that that's partially because obviously the allegations. But I kind of thought about Christian's point when we were talking about Lamar Jackson and how like the franchise tag doesn't mean the difference in franchise tag money wouldn't mean as much to him because he's already made some millions and he's already got endorsements and things. So my question is, well, not my question, but I guess from a rhetorical standpoint, the question is like, did Ja really care about the $40 million difference? Because to me, it seems like the way he went about things, maybe partially it felt I don't want to say he felt like he was invincible, but obviously, like you guys said, being able to skate the first time, not getting as harsh of a penalty, and then kind of going out and doing the same thing again, and then getting in trouble. I mean, I don't. I think the biggest thing is just we probably need to stop looking at this from maybe a financial standpoint and maybe look at this more from just a personal standpoint. I'm not trying to psychoanalyze Ja or anything like that, but I do think people have a good point when they say that Ja should really start thinking about what's going on here. Just because if people do, especially in the Memphis area, if people think that he's trying to be someone that he's not, and somebody comes and tries to test him, there may not be a Ja Morant. So I know that's like really extreme, obviously, and that may be part of the viewpoint just because, like Nate said, it's a black man with a gun, and people see it and they think that that's what could happen. But I just know there are a lot of people that have said we should probably stop looking at the financial aspect of what he's missing and probably start looking at just the personal, because there may be people that might try to test him and see if they believe that he's trying to portray something that he's not, basically.
Spoken like a true journalist there.
I mean, test him. Only thing I see testing him, it's not like testing this gangster way. I don't think that's what it is. It's just he's throwing up crib. That's the only thing what someone would test him on, I think. Not because he has a gun. I'm like, we know how many TU people, Thompson people, just come around have guns just to have a gun. They don't even try to test them. Now throwing up crib, yeah, that's a whole nother story. But
I mean, it works in tandem.
And in a way, I think guns are just very common compared to ag.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know it's real.
They are, but it's not like he is taking pictures of them just laid out on his desk. It's like whenever he has them, it's like he's holding them like, oh, don't mess with me, I'm gonna use it. Like
people like that.
Yeah, but I'm saying it works in tandem. If he's in the video holding up the gun, and then he's also in a basketball game and he dunks and then he throws up crip, it works in tandem.
It does work in tandem. Yeah.
But we can move on from Ja if we want to. Hope he gets whatever it is figured it out. Hopefully he moves smarter going forward. But yeah. Now we want to touch on conference finals.
Yes.
Yep. So
start with Lakers. Start with Lakers Nuggets.
Let's not talk about
Lakers.
Yeah, let's start with Lakers Nuggets. So
we're talk about that.
Yeah, let's start with Nate, since Nate is the resident Lakers fan on the episode. Let's start with our predictions first, and then give our analysis for a game, just so everybody knows what we're picking.
I don't. Oh, gosh. Before the series, I said Lakers in 7. I sort of hesitated at the time. Now for game 1, I'm so unsure about if either team will win, because I think, and I guess this goes into a review of game 1, but I thought LA definitely found something in terms of how to guard that Denver offense, and at least they found a way to, somewhat contain Jokic while letting AD play that, destructive revolving role that he does so well, and I think it took a toll on that offense. Still gonna stick with Lakers in 7, even, and I think they should feel good going into game 2. Yeah, does anybody else have anything to add? I'm still trying to construct my thoughts, but that's my initial. Yeah.
Do you want to go, JB?
I wouldn't get worried.
Never mind. Go see.
I was just gonna say I wouldn't get worried. I do also have Lakers in 7. This is a game the Nuggets were supposed to win. The Nuggets almost have to win both of these games. for me to feel worried about my prediction. But I will say that the way that the Nuggets have been hitting shots all playoffs, like eventually you would think that it would slow down, but it didn't look like it was going to, especially in this game one. Of course, they're at home, so home court
They
advantage.
shoot well at home. They always shoot
Yeah,
well at home.
shooting on them home rims normally goes better than shooting away. But the way that the Lakers were guarding Jokic in the first half, I doubt they would try to go back to that. They'll probably use AD more in that help defense role, like Nate was saying. So going forward, I think maybe the Lakers have something figured out to try to limit Jokic. You're not going to stop him. This is one of the best, if not the best player in the league. But you also have to know that Jokic is also one of the smartest players in the league, and this isn't like some rare defense he's never seen before. A lot of teams do this where they put their four on him and let the five roam. This is the defense the Celtics ran last series against Joel Embiid. So Jokic is one of the smartest players in the league and is one of the best passing big men out of the league. It'll be hard to double him consistently in the playoffs, especially if the Nuggets are shooting like this. Like you can say all you want about the Lakers' defensive adjustment, but if they're continuing to shoot 50%, even 40% from three, it'll be hard to continue to have AD help in Rome if Jokic is just gonna find the open man every time. He can rack up 15 assists a game easy just doing that. What did he have yesterday?
He had
13?
12, I think. 12, no, he had 14. He had 14. He had 14.
Yeah, if he's getting 14 assists and they're knocking down those shots, they're going to be really hard to beat. So, I mean, the Lakers got to figure something out. They got to figure out the lineups because I don't like the starting lineup they ran out there yesterday, but I also don't know what adjustment you make, especially to keep team chemistry high because I think most of
That
us
team
may feel that
chemistry is
maybe
good.
D'Angelo Russell is better suited. D'Angelo Russell's better suited coming off the bench, but is he okay with that? We don't know. They just have to be okay with it. And maybe get Rui in the starting lineup or Vando. I don't really like Vando starting just because that offensive liability with him, and Schroeder's not the best shooter,
Yeah.
so I feel like that limits offense way too much if you start him and Schroeder. I feel like Rui can create his own shot, so I would go Rui. But I mean, I can understand why Vando simply for defense. But
If,
if I'm the Lakers, I'd make an adjustment to try to outscore Denver in this next game. So starting Vando, I think you might put yourself in a hole if they get out to a quick start. Because as good of a defender he is, he's not chasing everybody around the 3-point line.
yeah, I didn't get to see what Draymond said about Vando playing, but I think if you start Vando, then you're probably moving Dennis Schroeder back to the bench. You probably have Bron as your one, Reeves two, and then Rui, Vando, and AD. But I have Lakers in 6. I still have them in 6. I know that requires them obviously winning game 2 or game 5, but I think it's a possibility, especially if Denver doesn't make the necessary adjustments for game 1. As everybody basically already said, Jokic basically had his way in the first half. In the second half, they allow AD to roam a little bit more, and then Jokic seemed a little bit more passive, especially in the fourth quarter, which was surprising to me because there were times, like I know one time he passed. I think Aaron Gordon had somebody sealed under the basket, so he tried to pass it to him right there. I would just thought he would have been better off shooting a turnaround fade or a hook or something, and just getting the easy two. If I'm Denver, the adjustment I probably make is on that strong side. I'm probably putting MPJ in the corner because I know he's a good shooter. Because it seemed like they were just what LA was doing while having Anthony Davis roam. He was basically responsible for Aaron Gordon, and Aaron Gordon, and it seemed like they're basically. I think LA's game plan for game 2 is going to be basically dare Aaron Gordon to beat us. So if I'm Denver, because of how stale their offense basically got, I'm obviously keeping Murray and Jokic at the top of the key, but I'm having MPJ on the strong side corner. I'm having Aaron Gordon on the weak side corner, and I'm having KCP at the weak side corner. So that way Jokic has room to operate on the strong side, and AD has to make a decision between whether or not he's going to stay on MPJ or if he's going to double Jokic every time. Now, Now that might be a situation where LA's like, we'll live with MPJ beating us, but that would be the adjustment that I was thinking about if I was Denver
That
potentially doing.
that sounds good in theory, but that operates as if Anthony Davis is guarding Michael Porter. And I think they're gonna put Anthony Davis on whoever the four is. I do think Denver may have to limit Aaron Gordon's minutes if he's not capable of knocking down the shots consistently. Because Anthony Davis doesn't have to be on the strong side with Michael Porter. They can have whoever over there. Anthony Davis can help from the weak side. Then you still have to have Aaron Gordon knock down a shot. So Denver may have to get some Jeff Green, Bruce Brown minutes, but even then, those aren't the shooters that are going to kill you in a game. So Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green, those guys are going to have to knock down the shots. Because at this point, you can't just let Jokic get a free pass to the rim, no matter who's on him. You've seen he was bullying AD. He'll bully Rui. He'll bully Vando. So I mean, it'll come down to Aaron Gordon knocking down shots, Jeff Green knocking down shots, and maybe getting some actions where you get KCP a more reliable shooter to the corner, maybe get AD out of that whole area. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Gordon, he had a pretty decent series last series, but he has to be I don't want to say 15 point per game. I mean, what did Nate say? Didn't Nate
They
say
said
Aaron Gordon
20
could be
last series.
I don't know, but Aaron Gordon might have to drop 14. He might have to.
Yeah, him
No,
and
he definitely
MPJ
does. And I
would
think
probably be the biggest factors on that team for sure.
I thought something was really on my fault. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nate. I'll go after you.
From what was really telling, at least with Denver's media time today, not only Coach Malone but some of the players expressed that like after watching the film, like they there's this belief amongst them that they were some of the views that the notion of like, oh, the Lakers are getting that because they figured out a way to sell Jokic, and Malone straight up said we've seen this before. We have a smart defender on Jokic, and so at least it frees like other teams' big men. It's like you saw with Minnesota, like you've seen at times when they play Philly, right? Like PJ, be on Tucker would be on, especially in the regular season matchups this year. Like Tucker would be on Jokic at times to free up Embiid to let him, play help a little bit more. The thing though is that's interesting. Goes back to Gordon though. Is a lot of times how they would remedy that in the regular season would be having Gordon in the dunker spot, right? And it worked well. I forgot I think it's like per possession they averaged like over 1.5 points. With that, when Jokic beat guard relatively smaller and he had Gordon in the dunker spot, but the concern though, at least last game or game one, was that in those minutes in the second half where Gordon was in the dunker spot, they didn't score a single time. So that's something to watch out for. So it's really just going to be like a war of attrition. I wonder what Michael Malone has up his sleeve if if that simple fix of having Gordon more in the dunker spot will work out. And like AD said, he's got his work cut out for him because he has to career him, but also at the same time face that to Gordon. But I think he did a good job of that already in game one. So it'll be a continuation there, but we'll see. It might be a different adjustment that we're not considering. Yeah.
I feel like the reason the dunker spot for Aaron Gordon may not work in this specific series because AD is one of the few bigs in the game who can play help and play the dunker. I mean, the person ready for the drop off pass. So that's why Denver, you can try to say Aaron Gordon could just sit in the corner and keep AD out there, but until he hits, they're not going to respect him out there, and that's how LA came back. Because until you make Anthony respect you as a shooter, he can just help on Jokic's drive every time, and they gotta hit shots. That's all it really comes down to. I don't think dunker spot is going to be the move for this series. They may try it, and it may work, but to win 4 out of the 7 games, I think Aaron Gordon or somebody, whoever is that fifth starter, is going to have to knock down those shots.
Now, I don't disagree with what you're saying, Christian. My whole, obviously, like you said, my thing works in theory, but my thought was they're gonna have AD play the strong side of Jokic, because I feel like if you force Jokic left theoretically, he'll just back down Rui forever. Now, is it possible that AD can come can just run straight to Jokic and just leave Gordon open, obviously. But so if they do play him on the weak side, then yeah, obviously that neutralizes the whole idea of having MPJ in the corner. But before we move on, I just wanted to ask: do we think that we're gonna get a Bron that is saying? Are we gonna get a Bron that's looking to get 40 and trying to win game 2, or do y'all think we're gonna get a Bron that's like, I'm gonna see how this game kind of like game 1, where it's like, I'm gonna see how this game goes, and if it's close, then I might put my foot on the gas.
I think we'll see Bron give his best effort. I just don't know if we're seeing 40-point Bron this playoffs. You know, like he may have a game where he gets 40. I just don't know if we're gonna see it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
That burst just isn't there the way you would like to see it. And you know that 3 he settled for against Jamal Murray. It's like, dude, like your team had a perfect opportunity,
especially when Murray had 5.
And to see LeBron James of all people settle for a 3 like that, when he's just known for making the right basketball play, whether it's unselfish or selfish, you got to think that maybe the foot is hampering him. So maybe he can try to go for 40 all he wants. I just don't know whether he's at this moment capable of doing it. We talking about the series like Denver. We talking about Denver like Denver lost. They got to come up with all these adjustments. But it was like that win yesterday was not a good win for them. The way that they blew that lead, it was looking a little crazy. I was sitting in the movie theater like, dude, what is going on? I was worried that like everybody in the group chat was getting all excited because they was making a comeback. So it was like, yeah, Denver's up 1-0. But that's not an encouraging win if you're Denver. And I think Michael Malone had like alluded to that in the press conference. He wasn't really happy in his post-game presser because that just wasn't a good win for them, especially if they want to be like that, the team to win it all this year. They got to string together 4 quarters and be able to adjust the adjustments that are being made against you. I mean, you can't come out of halftime thinking that the Lakers are going to start running the same defense after Jokic had almost 20 rebounds in the first half.
Exactly.
You know? Anticipate adjustments. Anticipate them on the court. As a coach, you got to anticipate the adjustments and put your players in the right position to succeed. And so I'm thinking they'll come out prepared for the adjustments in game 2. I'm thinking Darvin Ham probably figures something out defensively. Maybe it's something completely different than what they showed in the second half of game 1, since Denver's already seen it. Maybe give Jokic a different look. So you never know. But I'm interested. You know, this is probably going to be a good series. That's why I got Lakers in 7. I'm hoping it goes 7.
For me, when it comes to this series, it's hard for me to predict the end result. I think I need to see game 2, which isn't fair, of course, with any prediction. But for now, I'll say Lakers in 6 or 7. CG said it like just now. I think Darvin Ham's ability to adjust in game is what's going to help him out a lot. We'll see how Mike Malone, retaliates, but he had a lot of time. He had a lot of time left in the game where he could have adjusted how they changed the defense around Jokic. I think they start Rui next game, but I also see Jokic getting 43 points. You can quote me on that. I got the script ahead of time. Now, when it comes to Aaron Gordon, I think that, yes, remove from the dunker spot, but rather I say put the ball in his hands and run some 4 or 5 pick and roll action. The Lakers switch. They're going to switch. Give it to Jokic, be back on AD, and I think that'll help. It'll help kind of, what's the word? I guess get him out that
neutralize maybe.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Said neutralize maybe.
Yeah, I don't say fully neutralized. It's still AD, but it would help a little bit, I think. Now, I don't expect Gordon to take 300 more off the dribble and get a dunk every time, but I think just having that action rather than say, hey, you sit next, below the block in the dunker spot and wait for the ball to come to you, it's much more, I can't think of the word to use, but it's much more.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last series.
Murray off ball as well in that situation too.
Yeah. We saw it last series. Steph is one of the best players of all time, so I don't want to make it seem like anybody can do this. But like Anthony Davis is one of the greatest defenders of all time, and if you make his job easy, he will like we saw yesterday. He can bring his team back into the game.
Right.
Like make him move on the defensive end, get him involved in the action. whether it's Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon pick and rolls, if that's who AD is on, or if you have Jokic, Aaron Gordon, Jokic, like get him involved, get him out of that spot. I like that you said that. Get him out of that spot where he is comfortable and he is able to affect almost every shot.
Right.
Because
it's
he can
always
get,
going to him. You know what I'm saying? Rather
it
than
is because he can get from the rim to the free throw line for Jokic jumper instantly. He can get from the rim to the 3-point line. Like even if you say Anthony Davis help off of Aaron Gordon, he helps off of Aaron Gordon. He's that great of a defender where
He
that
can get there,
wingspan,
test the shot.
if he sprints back out there, he can still affect the shot somehow. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like, get him involved in the action. And we saw Steph kill him in the mid range in a couple of those games last series. So if you get Jamal Murray might just have that one game spell. You know, we've seen it. I mean, he has the ability to go for 30, 40, you know,
Yeah.
and he can kill in the mid range as well. So get Jamal Murray involved in that mid range pull up, and don't let him buy his time helping off Aaron Gordon in the paint the whole game. You know.
But yeah, they did well last game having that double pin down and that I think it's called the Spinulus screen. I think that's what it's called. When Jamal Murray would come up from the baseline and come either free throw line or the 3-point line, catch the ball and shoot. That handoff thing also works for him. I think just look at the entire team itself. I would say Jokic was limited to 2 points, 2 assists, and 2 rebounds in the fourth quarter. It's crazy, right? I think moving forward, I look at Michael Porter Jr. This is now the chance I think he has to step up because defense focused on Jokic. After Jokic is Murray. Now we're looking at you. All right, he gave 15 points or something like that yesterday, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, 3 threes. Yeah, 3 threes and 15 points. You gotta keep that up. You can't have no dud. They looking to you just to be that person, hit those shots, to attack closeouts and things like that. Even attack the glass. I think he had 10 rebounds also. The offensive rebounds will be big for the Denver Nuggets, I believe. Like I said, we'll see. We'll see though. When it comes to Bron gonna be Bron. You know, go Bron. It's not gonna dominate, but 38-8. I think he had that yesterday. Recently, I think he had 38.
No, I think he did. I think he did.
Yeah. That's not too off. I don't see him doing 40, but he's gonna have a down game this next one, I believe. You also gotta take into account they were in Denver. Now I've recently been in Denver, and I understand now. I always thought it was like they was making that up, like all the elevation is throwing you off. I'm like, y'all high level athletes, like just who? It's different. So given that and the way they were able to come back, I definitely got the Lakers in favor. I'll say for now in favor. They had a lot going against them, and they still almost won. Like Denver was hitting every 3 too, so it was crazy.
Even the crazy shots. No, I agree with y'all saying when y'all say that LeBron's not. Y'all don't think LeBron scored 40. I should have rephrased it a little bit better, but when I say 40-point LeBron, I just mean like the Bron we saw in I know this is a few years ago, but the Bron we saw in Game 1 against the Warriors in 2018. That's just kind of like I'm not losing tonight. Like that Bron. I'm not saying that's gonna get you 40 or 50. But that's just I'm not. We're gonna get LeBron from Game 6 from against the Warriors. That Bron.
Are we gonna see LeBron be the best player on the floor for the Lakers? Because we haven't really seen that as often in this series.
We did one game.
It's been one game.
That's fine, but I'm saying, do we think we'll get that Bron for Game 2? Because I think you need that Bron for a road win. You don't need that Bron at home because AD's finally put games together. AD had 40 and 10 yesterday, but
I don't know if he'll be the best player, but I think it will be spurts at times where he looks like the most dominant. I think I know the lasting image of Murray on LeBron from Game 1 is going to be that 3, but I think he did a really, really good job stacking Murray. I feel every LeBron initiative took a role. They were going after Murray. I think he did a good job. And he had 15 and 6 assists in the second half. I think he did a good job. I think going into Game 2 we'll see more of that hopefully, and that may result in a 30 ball or even more. But I don't know. Yes, I think we could be due in for a game where LeBron has the largest scoring output for the Lakers, but I think he did a good job already. I just think it's more so he has to continue what he did in that second half moving forward.
Yeah. We've seen that over the past few series. I think they did the same thing with the Warriors, where they kept switching until Bron got on Curry and Bron was driving them every time.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did it that much against the Grizzlies, but I assume they Desmond Bain. They was picking Desmond Bain apart, had Bron driving him. So that just seems like to be a reoccurring theme. If they make it to the finals, Kyle Lowry. I'll leave it at that. But they can't do it against Marcus Smart. So we'll see. We'll see how that strategy evolves in the future.
All right.
Well, we'll move from
anything else?
Yeah.
I feel like this was the main event series. Really, it's the series everybody cares about: the Lakers and the Nuggets.
Yeah.
But the Celtics,
let's talk about it.
Celtics dropped game 1. It happens.
Happened last series. That doesn't surprise us, does it?
I don't really have much of an analysis from this game, other than the Celtics didn't really play Mazzulla ball, man. And it's like people criticize Mazzulla ball, but it's like when they don't do it and they don't win, I just know he's in the locker room saying, "Look, guys, they didn't get up as many threes as he would have liked." The one thing I will say is Payton Pritchard minutes in the first quarter.
Yeah,
in the second half. I don't see the reason for Payton Pritchard playing as often as he did in this series. Like, I'm sure he would have. There should be some spots for him. Sure, he's a bucket getter. He can create his own shot. But the way they were using him, the way they were using him in this game though, as an off-the-ball shooter, you can literally put in Sam Hauser to do the same thing with better defense.
Or Grant Williams.
Like if you're gonna put Payton Pritchard in, let him be Payton Pritchard. Let him try to create his own shot and stuff. But they put him in like the offense was. We had 30 points in the first quarter, and they put him in the game like we needed offense.
For my Celtics fans, I just want to know: why did Grant Williams get a DMP today?
That is the question that we are all trying to figure out. I don't know if Grant did something to Joe Mazzulla. I don't know. JG theorized that it's because we're not trying to pay him a whole bunch of money in the summer, but I don't see why you would want to do that right now if you're trying to win a championship. But if that's the politics, that's the politics.
Grant hasn't really played that much since, I want to say, game 3, game 4, since I think the game after he got his head stepped on. He hasn't played that much since then. Yeah. If his shot isn't falling, his spot in the rotation gets a little wonky because he's a 4. You want to play him in the PJ Tucker role, but if he's not knocking down shots, what's good for you on the offensive end? But I would have preferred him to go in the game over Payton Pritchard. I can tell you that much. But the person I would have really wanted to see get minutes is Sam Hauser. But I don't know why Payton Pritchard was the selection. I mean, and you already had an undersized with Derek White. And then Derek White and Payton Pritchard in the game at the same time is a bit insane to me. That's 2 people within the hunt. Derek White is all defensive team. But it's like he's not doing anything with Jimmy Butler.
That's what I really didn't understand, because I'm like, you have Payton Pritchard and Derek White out there. Jimmy is going to hunt either one of them. He was definitely hunting Derek White from the little bit that I saw Derek White out there. So it was just like, why are they both out there at the same time? I agree with you, CT. My bad.
I love Payton Pritchard, but he's only played 8 games since March. And I think majority of those games have been in garbage time. And Joe Mazzulla threw him into the fire of Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. That is like, listen, that's
unforgivable,
man.
And we can't even say it's because of zone. And we can't even say it's because of the zone, because it's not like we weren't breaking them down all night and getting to the rim.
I feel like to play devil's advocate, I feel like if Mazzulla felt like he needed Payton Pritchard throughout at some point in this series, the moment that he did put him in was probably the only time he could have played him, because we were already winning. So it was like, all right, get some shots up, get your confidence up, because we may need you
later in the series.
But I don't think we needed him. That's my issue. So I can see that he may think that we may have needed Payton Pritchard. So it's like, all right, put him in the game when we're already winning. But I'm like, dude, we didn't need him. We got a taller version who you're going to play in the same role.
Plus,
Like,
Bron
he's
and
not
Smart were
playing
both
the greatest
hooping the
shot.
whole game for the most part.
And it's like, if you're gonna play him, don't play him with Derek White. Like, man, but you live and you learn. I'm interested to see what adjustments Missoula makes in game 2. They'll probably take about 63s next game. Because they probably didn't get enough up for his sake. But shout out to the Heat. They performed, but they had a lot of players who got 15 a day who may not get 15 the whole series. Kyle Lowry had 15. Caleb Martin had 15. I want to say Bam had 20. There's somebody else who had 15. So, I mean, these players are all capable of individually
Strus
getting
probably
15. But
had
for them to all
15.
have 15 in one game. Gabe Vincent had 15. Max Strus had 15. So, for all of these players that had 15, all of them to have 15 in one game, it's almost like, all right, you guys got us. Jimmy's going to do what Jimmy does. That's what makes him a real threat because he's going for 30 every night almost. I mean, you almost got to hope his shot is off and that he's not as aggressive because he will have those moments where he just doesn't have the shot falling. And then he'll look at somebody else to do it. But he doesn't have Tyler Hero to do it, so he probably won't even look anywhere else. Go ahead, Brian.
That's the only thing that scares me for game 2 because I feel like Missoula might overcorrect and say we're going to give Jimmy basically give Jimmy anything he wants. We're going to play single coverage. We're going to try to keep everybody else from scoring 15, like CT just said, and we're going to let Jimmy get 50 if so be it. I do agree with CT obviously that we're going to throw up a whole bunch of threes. I think that this basically is just Philadelphia all over again, where you played well to start out, then you came back and it was like third quarter, everybody was sitting there like, what's going on? Because they were beating the zone. They were beating the zone the whole game. Marcus Smart, I was ready to come on here and talk about how Marcus Smart played like the quintessential point guard game. He looked like, this may sound blasphemous, but he looked like prime Rondo / CP3 just from a playmaking standpoint. Because he was throwing dimes. He was finding people in the right places.
That's not crazy.
Robert
Y'all
Williams
wasn't watching.
was doing his thing.
He said Rondo.
No, I know.
CP3.
He had
10 assists in the first half.
Rondo.
He had 10 in the first half.
/ CP3.
From a playmaking perspective, I'm not talking about scoring or anything like
Even
that.
if you name one of them, you name Rondo / CP3 for playmaking. That is playmaking on top of playmaking.
Okay, so
if you would have said, if you
hold on,
Brian,
is that okay? Is Prime Rondo okay?
Yeah, lob that he made to Rob Williams.
Them lobs to Rob Williams was crazy, man.
He didn't see that lob.
Pinpoint
that
accuracy.
Lob he threw was no. He threw it from the 3-point line.
He
It
said
was on the money.
From the 3-point line, Bam
pass.
Adebayo was here and he couldn't get the basketball. Like it was.
They said it looked like a hook shot.
When you look, when you watch the accuracy was.
It might have been basket interference.
I came home and I seen that. He barely dunked it. Like Rob Williams barely. It was right real close.
Yeah, it might have been basket interference because Marcus might have just threw the ball in the rim. That's how good of a shot, good of a pass it was.
When I saw the highlight start, I thought Marcus Smart was going to accidentally throw it in the rim because he be doing that. But I saw Rob Williams dunk the last second. Y'all tell me he got a pinpoint accuracy. Nah.
I mean, Bam was this close to what Bam was like in the play, but he couldn't even like tip the basketball because it was such a good pass. But
Bam, he don't really be going 20 points a game. He's probably tied for real.
See, but the thing is, Bam scoring 20 doesn't surprise me because he knows that he's going to have to be offensively. He's going to have to be their second option guy. This isn't like last year where like Bam could skate because other people were scoring. Like Bam's going to have to score 20 for them, 15 to 20 for them to win games because we've seen a lot more aggressive Bam this playoffs. But like I said, I expect us to throw up a whole bunch of more threes in game 2. Game one was definitely scary, especially because I'm sure if you look at the team stats, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami beat us by at least like 15 points in the 3-point margin, just because we weren't getting up as many threes, but we were getting to the lane every single time. So obviously, like outside of Bam, they don't really have any rim protection. And even when Bam was in the game, Jason and Jalen were still going to the rim every single time. The only thing I'm worried about, kind of like last series, my X factor was the Celtics' focus. And again, I think I mean, it was prevalent today, as you could see, the tail between two halves. Um, so I think just attention to detail, defensive intensity, and just overall focus. I think would be the biggest things that I expect them to correct in game two. Um, I had Celtics in seven as my original prediction, so obviously I'm going to stick to Celtics in seven because I felt like we would, just like last series against Philly, like we would drop at least one game that we should win. Now I don't think we can afford to drop two games this series because Jimmy Butler's not losing a 3-2 lead. I'll just leave it at that. So we cannot afford
Jason
to
Tatum
drop
also.
another bad game.
No, I agree with you, Brian. Also, Jason Tatum needs more than 17 shots. I'm sorry, but I just felt like late in that game he was doing way too much screening and not getting the ball. Like it.
There were some
You know what
things
I mean?
though where he was
Like-
trying to do too much, and it was like trying to go 1-on-1, and then that's another thing. We got to stop trying to go 1-on-1, especially against the zone. Like I understand we were getting to the rim at will, but we got to continue to move the basketball because once we started running that, I understand that CT always says it's an ISO game, and I understand that. But against that zone, when they started trying to go 1-on-1 and they weren't moving the basketball and cutting and moving and things of that nature, Miami was getting turnovers. They were getting out and running, and they cut into that lead very quickly, which helped them get that 50-point third quarter that CT's been talking about for the last couple of hours. So that's
Yeah, I will say that it's a bit disappointing when you only get 29 threes up and a team played zone for a substantial amount of time. Like that is your opportunity to get them up. But like you said, they were going 1-on-1 a lot. But we have 1-on-1 players, so it's like you can't really expect too much zone breakdown from Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. That's just not their game. You would hope that they would realize that they would get better shots if they would continue to move the ball. Jason Tatum only took 3 threes today. It's not enough. Jalen Brown took 6, 1 for 6. Everybody else, they weren't really getting them up really.
I think Brogdon was the only one that was up that probably had more than 2.
And they
Smart
played
had
Payton
2.
Pritchard for 12 minutes. They played Payton Pritchard for 12 minutes. He only took 2 threes, missed them both. So it's like, what are you even out there for? Just out there getting cardio. I thought you wanted to score. So it's cool. Hopefully Missoula adjusts. Miami. But my thing is, they should have known that Miami was gonna throw out a zone in this series. They do this every series.
Do every year.
It's like this
Plus,
is something
they weren't going to play man because
should
they
have
don't
been
have the
prepared
people
for.
capable to stay in front of Jalen and Jason.
Yeah, so it's like the team should have been prepared for man and zone. And these are professional athletes at the end of the day, so they should know what to do whenever they see any type of zone.
But that's the
Even
thing.
at our level, we'll know what to do if we see a
People
2-3 zone. Yeah, so it's like
But CT, that's the
everybody
thing.
knows to get the shots up.
But that's the thing. They were beating the zone in the first half. Like when Marcus Smart was doing what I was saying he was doing. Like they were moving the ball, they were cutting, they were passing, they were getting to the rim. They weren't shooting a whole bunch of threes. But there were a few times where like Brogdon would have open threes. I think White hit a 3 and things of that nature. But the point was they were beating the zone in the first half. And then that's when like I don't know why they deviated from the game plan, but they were beating the zone in the first half. And maybe it's just because Robert Williams was out there and not Al Horford. So having that rim pressure helped. But I don't know why they weren't able to continue doing what they were doing. Because it's not like, to me, from what I saw, it wasn't like Miami made like crazy adjustments. But they just couldn't handle the zone at some point. I don't know why.
They might have to go back to the
Marcus Smart was playing just one more time. I forgot what you said last time.
I mean,
Chris
the
Paul,
man
Rajon Rondo.
he had 9 assists
For one half.
He had 9 assists and no turnovers in the first half. So he was playing the quintessential position, quintessential point guard to me.
I went back.
They may have to
Wait.
go back to the one big lineup for this series.
Would you have that one big B Rob?
They may have to.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters as much, but to have them both on the floor to start games and to start the second half, I feel like you could see some slow starts because if they're running zone, you probably want you probably want a fifth shooter on the floor. just to continue to like have that threat of a shooter. And Rob was doing his thing in the first half, but if Marcus isn't able to play make for him as well as he was in that half that we saw, a lot of his points are just going to come off offensive rebounds. And I think having that fifth shooter on the floor more consistently. So I'd probably start Al. But I mean, we were doing just fine with it in the first half. So I can't even say that the lineup was the issue, but I think against zone, you probably want to have five shooters on the floor
No,
for most of the
I
time.
I agree with your point, CT. The only reason why I'd say that Joe probably doesn't go away from the two big lineup is just if he's worried about the rebounding battle, because obviously they have Kevin Love and Bam Adebayo out there
Yeah.
starting. But I don't disagree with your point if you want to try to put like say Brogdon out there, because I don't know, because if I put Derek White out there to start, Jimmy Butler is attacking him from tip off.
Yeah, and it may just be a starting lineup thing because Kevin Love only played 16 minutes. So I mean, the minutes can be mirrored in a way,
Yeah.
but I just think we need to have five shooters on the floor more consistently. I mean, Payton Pritchard just can't be one of those five shooters. I'm sorry.
What were you gonna say,
Sorry.
JB?
I didn't get a chance to fully watch the game. I got home kind of late, but I will say before I got on the call, before I got home, I was talking to my coworker, and I was saying that we're talking about how the Celtics just can't have two consistent games, two consecutive games where they're bringing the energy, bringing that focus, like you mentioned, Brian. And I was saying that it's because we have a team full of young vets. They're still young players. They've been in the league for a while. They have lots of experience, but they're still young. We have Al, of course. After that, Blake Griffin, Muscala. I think the only people over 30 or 30 or over, whatever.
Yeah, that's probably it.
And not getting no PT. But again, like I said, I don't have much game analysis. I will say Eric Spoelstra is great at in-game adjustments. I don't have that same feeling about Mazzulla. He's more of a game-to-game, or he'll make general changes, but not really specific strategic things. Um, I still say Celtics in 7. I'm biased, and we have more talent. I don't know when Hero's supposed to come back, but whenever Tyler Hero comes back, right? Because Jimmy Butler, he's going to do his thing for sure, and Harry Spoelstra's going to do his thing. And they have the talent not talent, sorry. They have the skill sets to match up with our players. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Tatum might have to put on another performance in one of these 6 final games, but that's all I got on that.
No, I agree with that point. Well, whether we make the finals or we lose, I do have a take about the Celtics bench in terms of the staff that I have an idea about. Because I don't think, even if we miss the finals, unless we just get swept, I don't think Mazzulla was like in coaching jeopardy. So, but I do have a thought about that because, as you say, he's not really an in-game adjustments guy. So I think that could partially be based on the people he has around him because he doesn't have as much experience. But I'll hold that take for later because I have an idea. But
he's also a rookie. You got to remember that too.
Yeah. I mean, I agree there. I'm just saying. But just like because even like Darvin Ham has like veteran staff around him.
Yeah, he does have veteran staff, and Darvin Ham has been assistant coaching for a long time. Too.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree, but yeah, that's just. But yeah, we'll leave that take for later, depending on if the Celtics make the next round or not. CT, I don't think we got your game prediction, like series prediction.
I got Celtics in 6.
Okay.
Losing this game kind of makes me want to say 7, but my thing was Celtics in 6 before the series, so I'm gonna stick with it.
Got it. Nate, I know we didn't really let you like explain too much, but you know.
Nah, I was just thinking back on the game at least. Okay, I guess to give a recap, I thought Miami. I thought you know it's always people looking at for first games, right? Uh, Gabe started off on Jalen Brown, which I think was reminiscent of the Milwaukee series where they have on Milton at times. I believe Love started off on Horford, but the thing that stood out to me from the get-go at least, and this is big for Miami, is that Bam has to be aggressive, and I feel like night and day he looks a lot better compared to when they ran into the Boston last year in the conference finals versus now.
Absolutely.
The work on his dunk has showed. I think for Miami and like say like their points of pressure have to be at Rob Williams and Horford specifically when Bam has the ball. I think that was the story of the game too. Like I thought Boston for the most part did a good job in terms of the looks they were giving Jimmy and Bam. But I think the story of this game was like no matter the looks that they got, they were aggressive. Like Jimmy just had some great coverage. I don't care. I'm getting me a bucket moments like to close the game out, and he was huge for them. Uh, let's see. For Boston, what's going to be big is dribble penetration. I thought there's several moments where Tatum had crucial drives to the basket. I think that's going to be huge going forward. I like the wrinkle that Spoelstra threw in at least to counter, uh, Boston's ability to switch, and a lot of times Smart being switched on to Jimmy Butler. They ran a double screen roll. They ran a double pick and roll, whereas the second it allowed for at least for because usually in that first the guy that's picked to be Love at times, and essentially him being able to fade forces Robert Williams to have to play in between the passing lanes or like committing to him, whereas that second pick and roll guy just kicks it to the corner, so he drags the defender away, and Jimmy at times has um like a lot to work with. Uh, Also, I think something to look forward to is Marcus Smart being the role man in these pick and rolls. I think he has a really good ability to stop on a dime, like in the middle of the paint after receiving the ball. And there were times where he looked off Jimmy and he was able to get guys open looks because he's just that good. Like he has the athletic ability to just like stop and then look opposite, and he's a smart basketball player. I think that'll be the point for contention. And I know Marcus Smart and several other players related in the game like Eckler wasn't there for the full 48 minutes, but I think that's the story, right? Where it's the best way for them to shred that zone is really just moving the ball and doing penetration. Um, and we'll see how that zone will hold up going into game two. But the story of the game really is just Bam and Jimmy saying, "I don't care about the matchup. I'm going to be aggressive." Like they were aggressive from the jump, and it made the difference.
That's the biggest thing that always worries me with Miami. Well, Boston in particular, but just along with focus, it's every time you play Miami, you're getting the best effort. And they always love to talk about how like they play with undrafted guys and all that good stuff. And obviously, like if you lined up the pedigrees based on draft position, obviously the Celtics got like three top six picks, and Miami's got Bam, who's a lottery pick, Jimmy, who's a first rounder, and I think Kyle Lowry's a first rounder if I'm not mistaken. And then like everybody else is just like second rounder undrafted. So that's just the biggest.
Oladipo.
Oh, Victor Oladipo. Forgot. Victor Oladipo, top 3 pick.
We got Al Horford. Wasn't he?
Al Horford's the top 3 pick. So we have 4 guys that are top 6 picks.
5. Blake Griffin.
Forgot. Well, Blake Griffin don't play. I'm not counting Blake Griffin.
Neither do Oladipo, but we counted him.
Yeah, then
Oladipo's hurt. So I think Oladipo would be playing minutes in this series if he wasn't hurt. So I'm counting Oladipo.
Yeah, don't even get Nate started on Oladipo now.
You count Tyler Hero the 13th.
Back to episode 1, man. Oh yeah, Tyler Hero was a lottery pick too, so another guy. But the point is, if you put it, this would be the perfect talent versus effort type situation. If you're just making just a basketball argument. What were you gonna say, JP? My bad.
I think it's if you're a casual. I'm sorry.
Well, no, because if you're a casual, you would probably just say the Celtics are winning because they got more talent. But I don't know. But basically, the point would be if you're gonna beat Miami, and most likely whoever's coming out of the West, you gotta be locked in and focused, and you gotta bring effort every single night. I'm not gonna sit here and say that Boston didn't bring the effort because they definitely did. But losing your focus from the first half to the second half that easily, especially against a team like Miami in games that you can't afford to drop because they have the experience and they understand the moment. Not that a team like Philly didn't, but just when you have Harden as one of your important players, you're not, and you have Doc Rivers as your head coach. It's a little different than having Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler. So it's just a situation where I'm a little concerned. I'm not like it's not like game one with Philly where Harden gave us 45 and I was like, I wasn't panicking, but I was like, okay, what's going on here? So I'm still encouraged a little bit because we played pretty well for the most part. It's just that got to get game 2, and as I said in the last series with Philly, you got to get game 3 to put the pressure back on Miami, because if they go up 2-1, game 4 is going to be very, very scary. If Miami goes up 2-1.
Boston's got something though. Like I just think the biggest takeaway from them on offense is the little slip actions that they have, and they're kicking and then manipulate the ball movement. Like movement's gonna be the biggest thing for them, and I think Miami, they showed it in this game, but I don't think they're fully adjusted to the movement that Boston's doing off ball compared to, like a Milwaukee, for example. It's there though. Like there's several actions where either Smart or JD is the roll man. They have the slip, and then from there, Matt will just clap immediately off the pass. It's there. They just have to be really conscious of it. I think they kind of broke down a little bit at the end, but I think Boston knows more than they think. This has to be a series where they speed Miami up.
Exactly.
I think Jimmy's cognizant of that too, and it's shown by his aggressiveness. Like he's not settling for anything. He's working. But I think Boston knows if it's a 7-game series, I think that plays in their favor a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I agree that if we're locked in defensively, that's good, because early in the game we were locked in, we were getting out and running, and we were getting them on backdoor cuts, just all types of things because they weren't able to set up their zone. And I think that might be part of the reason why we were successful against the zone. But we were doing but as Nate said, we were doing a whole lot of moving, cutting, passing, all that good stuff in the first half, whether it was in the half court or we were in transition. So, but I think if we lock in defensively, even though Jimmy's going to get his, obviously Bam's going to get his. If we lock in defensively, I don't see why we lose this series. That's just me personally, though.
Okay. Well, let's hope they can keep that laser focus. Because we know how it goes. We got their ebb and flows when it comes to the Celtics, man. We just ride with it.
I was about to say, it seems like unless you're like facing elimination, they can't, like you said, they can't do it for 2 straight games.
Oh. But again, y'all can tell us how y'all feel about this series too. I mean, we got a comment section for a reason, so we leave it at that. Tell us what y'all think.
Let us know what y'all think, man.
We catch us on TikTok also. Catch us on Instagram Reels, Twitter. Let us know, man. We definitely want to have some arguments, some debates with y'all too. So y'all part of the pod.
For sure.
But I think all in all, I think that's pretty much it for today. Like I said, we talked about the draft lottery. We talked about, Ja, Demetrius. Talked about Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals. Who's gonna get that Larry Bird trophy and that Magic trophy? That's what I'm trying to figure out next. So stay tuned for that too.
Oh, Nate,
you might have
before we completely finish, what was your series prediction? You
My
might have said it.
Boston and things we say. I don't want this one, but Boston in 7. Boston 7.
Okay, my bad, JB.
No, you good. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna say Boston in 7. We're gonna say WTP in 5, 4, 3, 2. Nah, man. All right, y'all. Thanks for y'all tuning in. I'm gonna say, stay tuned for next play.
Yeah, man. Stay tuned for the next play, man.
All right, y'all. Peace.